In this video, I'm going to show you the 3 things that I do with amateur golfers to get them swinging the club faster. We're going to talk about backswing, we're going to talk about your legs, and if you stick around to the end, we're going to talk about how to release the club to tie all 3 things together so you can maximize your distance and start shooting lower scores. So there's 3 general ways I'm going to try and get golfers to swing the club head faster. So the first one is length of arc and increasing your length of arc. So what that means is the longer the distance the club head travels on the way back and then down into the ball, the further you will hit it and the more speed you'll get. So someone like John Daly, who sort of swung the club all the way back here, he had like the craziest, the longest length of arc. Players like Jack Nicklaus or Scott Scheffler, who have really wide arms, get their hands really high. They also have a mega wide arc. They don't quite swing the club as visually far as John Daly, but they have such wide arms and high hands at the top that their arc is just enormous as well. So what we have to understand is the further away we can get the club head from the ball, the more time we have to generate speed, to create momentum into the ball to give us that faster speed and more distance. So there are a couple of ways we can do this. So what we have to do is we need a monster turn, and by turn I mean shoulder turn and hip turn. So what we're going to try and do is get our hips to turn at least 45 and maybe beyond that in the backswing, which will then allow us to turn our shoulders well beyond 90 degrees. Now, if you're tight and not very flexible, what you can do is actually lift up that left heel. We don't want to lift up that left heel until we've already maxed out our turn, and that heel's just going to give us a little bit of extra. Someone like Bryson, you'll see he stays very centered as he turns, but he lifts up his heel, and that just allows him to swing the club even further. Nicklaus was exactly the same. Once we've got a full turn, what we have to then try and do is keep some width in our arms. So you can sort of see if I fold my right arm a lot, the club head gets narrow, the shaft gets much nearer to my right shoulder. And if I swing like that with this very bent right arm, you can sort of see that visually, the club just isn't traveling very far. Although it's getting behind me, it's not traveling as great a distance as when I keep my right arm much straighter. I'm creating loads of width. That club head is now miles away from the ball, and I can get to the top where yes, I have depth, but I've got more width and my hands are up. Doing those things with a big turn and the wide arms just gets the club so far away from the ball that you are going to swing faster on the way down. That might be quite hard to time for those people who have generally been quite static in their swings, but this is something to practice, not something you just take straight onto the course in a competition. Let's just take a short break here before we get onto the downswing stuff to say, if you could please like and subscribe this video, that'd be great. All the comments, all the interaction really help me get this video out to more people. It helps me grow. I really appreciate it. So thanks very much, and let's go work on your leg action now. The second thing we're going to do to work on more club head speed once we've completed a full turn and big width is we're going to work on our downswing sequencing. So what that looks like is getting to the top of the swing and then planting our left heel and shifting our hips across, shifting our hips forward. We know that the best players in the world generally will move their hips anywhere from 3.5 to 5.5 inches forward, and we need to do that early in the downswing, certainly with the driver, because we've got a lot to do with our legs later on in the swing, and that's our third point, but we'll get to that later. So once we've got our body in position, the magic comes from when we're about halfway down. So we're up, big turn, nice wide arms, we're planting and shifting, which drags our arms down. And then from here, what you're going to see with the longest drivers is they're pushing off their left leg, and they actually get airborne with that lead foot. So the world long drives are quite a good example of this, where they are literally up in the air, falling all over the place. But you'll see players like Bryson and other long hitters, their foot just will spin out slightly or even move back slightly, and that's just because they've loaded that left leg and they're pushing off so hard, and that sort of, and it's that pushing off that creates the whip of the club at the bottom, the cracking of the whip. Full turn up to the top, nice wide arms, getting our hands as far away from the ball as possible. They're going to plant and shift, load that left leg, and then on the way, and then all we're going to do is turn and jump, and that's going to whip the club through. That's pretty good. So far with the first two things, full turn, wide arms, heel up, shift and plant, plant and shift, which gets our arms down. And then from here, we're literally just almost jumping, hopping off that left leg, which whips the club through. The final thing I'm going to get people doing when trying to get the club head speed, once we've got those first two things in place, is all about what we do with the hands and arms. Now we know that correct kinematic sequencing is that everything starts from the ground up, which is why we're planting and shifting, loading, jumping. People forget that the cherry on the cake is releasing our hands. We're really trying to create the speed in our legs to then release out of our hands, but we do have to do something with our hands. They don't just sort of, your hands aren't just there for the ride. We do need to activate them and use them at the bottom. We need to be able to throw. It isn't really a roll. It's very much a sort of flex to extend of the wrist, of the left wrist. It's an extension to flexion of the trail wrist. It's very much like that Ben Hogan release we've talked about in other videos, where the hands they're not rolling over, because that's going to give us too much club face variation. We're just working on creating some speed with that skim the stone release. And if we can combine that at the end, after our massive turn, big width, shift, plant, turn and jump, with that sort of throw release, then we're really going to be maximizing our potential. So width, turn, plant and shift, and then jump and release. You can see that if you stood here for long enough and you can start to time that, you're going to almost like build a long drive swing where you up, shift, jump, release. I've done this with golfers in lessons, and you can gain a significant amount of miles an hour from doing this, but we sort of have to do it in this order. There's no point jumping and releasing if we're doing it from a narrow position on the way back. We've got to get that club head traveling a maximum distance, and then we can shift and jump, and then we release. So hopefully that all makes sense. There's three things there you've got to do to try and get more club head speed. Now you might do one of those things and not some of the others. So you might have a good plant and jump, but not enough width, not enough turn. So you want to just like have a look at your own swing, get it on video and just see, right, am I wide? Do I have a more than 90-degree turn? Do I plant and jump? And do I throw my hands enough at the bottom? But it's all right there for you. Thanks very much for watching the videos. If you can please like and comment to boost the engagement, and subscribe if you don't already, that'd be great. If you like what I put out in these videos, you like what I say about technique, I can actually help you with your game no matter where you are in the world. So if you just want to click the link in the bio, it'll take you to Skillist, which is an online coaching platform, and there you can look to see what I do, and actually I can help you with your game. So analyze your swing, give you some drills and tips to help you improve, so we can work together to help you lower your handicap. But anyway, let's get back to the video.